Can I say something that might upset a few people? Rock bottom isn't a badge of honor. It's not a personality. It's not a brand. It's not something you put on a shirt and wear like it makes you more real, more deep, more spiritual. Rock bottom is a signal, a turning point, a wake-up call. But too many people, they stay there. They get comfortable being the survivor, the struggler, the one who's been through hell. And they start mistaking pain for depth, struggle for identity, endurance for evolution. Here's the hard truth. You're not powerful because you hit rock bottom. You're powerful when you rise, when you build after you've been broken. Welcome back to Hard Truths, the podcast where we stop confusing pain for purpose and finally step into who the hell we're really here to become. Let's talk about the trap of glorifying your lowest point and why staying there is just another form of fear. So let me ask you this. Have you ever gone through something hard? I mean really fucking hard. And found out afterward? It became the first thing people talked about when they first introduced you. Oh yeah, she's been through a lot. He's a survivor, man. She's real. She's seen darkness. Those examples. And don't get me wrong, acknowledging pain is important. But there's a line where surviving stops being a phrase and starts becoming a personality. You start getting praise for just making it. You get love for holding on. And slowly, without realizing it, you stop moving forward entirely. Because I've been through hell becomes more familiar than I'm building something new. See, we live in a culture right now that's obsessed with the aesthetic of suffering. We romanticize chaos. We post quotes about pain like it's currency. We build entire personal brands about struggle. And look, I get it. You've been through something. You've earned the scars. But let me ask you this. Are you still surviving because you need to? Or because it's the only way you know how to feel seen? Pain becomes the filter through which you prove your worth, and healing starts to feel like invisibility. So let's go deeper into why this happens. Because it's not just a mindset, it's not a weakness, and it's definitely not laziness. There are real scientific reasons people get stuck at rock bottom. And until you understand them, you'll keep repeating that same loop. Okay, let me break this down. Not from a place of judgment, but from a place of understanding. Because there's a reason people get stuck in their pain story. And that's not because they're weak. It's because their brain, their nervous system, and their identity have been bonded to that version of themselves. This is deeper than just mindset. It's rewiring. Let me walk you through 4 big psychological traps that explain why you keep circling the same low point, even after you've made it out. First up is trauma bonding. Now, normally, we talk about trauma bonding in the context of toxic relationships, right? When someone gets emotionally tied to a person who's been hurting them. But you can trauma bond with your own story, see? You can get attached to the version of you who survived. The one who got through the darkest moments. The one who adapted, armored up, and made it happen. And over time, that version of you becomes sacred. Because they were strong when no one else was. They were the reason you made it. So now, you hold on to them dearly, even when they're no longer helping you. And you want to know the scary part is? Sometimes growth feels like you're betraying that person. Like you're abandoning the one who carried you through hell. But listen, you're not betraying them. You're honoring them. Because their whole purpose was to get you through so you could become something more. Not so you could stay stuck in that identity forever. Now, closely tied to that is something called secondary gain. And this is one's really sneaky. It's when staying stuck in your pain actually benefits you. Not consciously, not manipulatively, but emotionally, psychologically. See, if you've been through something, people check on you, right? They praise your strength. They give you space. They validate your pain. And that attention, that identity, it starts to feel safe, even comforting. So when you start to heal, something weird happens. You feel invisible. You feel like your story doesn't matter anymore because people stop asking, they stop clapping. And that version of you, the one who's was always fighting through something, starts to fade. So you stay stuck, not because you love the pain, but because you're afraid that once it's gone, you'll have to prove your value in a new way. And I get that. See, all of this, it's amplified by familiarity bias, your brain's addiction to the known. It doesn't care if what's familiar is healthy. It only cares that it's predictable. If pain is what you know, then peace, actually healing, feels suspicious, a little sussy. Your body goes into alert, and you start sabotaging the very stability you say you want. You push away good relationships. You stir drama. You go numb when things get calm. Not because you're broken, but because chaos is what feels like home. Your brain will run those emotional loops again and again until you interrupt the story and start craving a new one. And let's not forget this last part, because this one explains why healing feels so heavy. Social rejection registers as physical pain. Let me say that again. Social rejection registers as physical pain. That's a scientific fact. Research by Naomi Eisenberg show that being emotionally rejected, being distant, not related to, misunderstood, activates the same area of your brain as physical injury. So when you stop identifying with struggle, when you heal, when you stop leading with pain, you lose a sense of belonging in the group that used to validate it. And your brain, it feels that loss like a punch to the chest. That's why it's so hard to let go of your lowest version, because doing so can feel like being left out of the only place you've ever felt seen. But let me tell you this, just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's where you're meant to stay. Here's where it gets even trickier. A lot of us use our pain as a platform. And it works. We inspire, we connect, we help others feel seen. And if you're not careful, you'll start building your whole life around who you used to be. You'll start branding your wounds instead of healing them. And the worst part? You'll fear becoming happy. Because what if you're no longer relatable? But here's the truth. Your purpose was never pain. Pain was just part of the path. So what's the move? You acknowledge the hell and thank the version of you who got you through it. And then you build. Real power isn't I survived. Real power is I used what tried to break me to build something no one saw coming. Your past isn't your peak. It's your origin story. So here's the real, raw truth. You've suffered, but now it's time to stop performing it. You don't need another breakdown to finally take your life seriously. You don't need more pain to be powerful. You're allowed to rise without apologizing. You're allowed to move on without broadcasting it. You're allowed to build a life so full, so healthy, so strong that people forget you ever hit rock bottom at all. And when that day comes, that's not erasure, that's transformation. So if you've been stuck in a story, today's the day you write a new chapter. Ask yourself, what identity am I afraid to outgrow? What version of me am I scared to leave behind? And then take one step forward. Not a leap, just a step. And when you do, tag me at Danny Livin, DANNYLYVIN. I want to see what version of you're choosing next. This is Hard Truths, where we stop turning pain into personality and start turning it into power. Because you were never meant to stay at the bottom. You were meant to build from it.